Hi, I'm Nadia Dunn. Welcome to CCL TV. We're here at the eCommerce Berlin Expo, and joining me is Des from ReverseLogix. Thanks for being here, Des.
Absolutely.
Now, can you start by telling us a bit about the company and your role there?
Yeah, absolutely. So ReverseLogix, based out in San Francisco in the US, and we recently opened our EU headquarters about 3 years ago. We were founded back in 2014, and what we really focus on is we're a full SaaS player for returns management systems. With returns becoming extremely popular these days, especially across e-commerce in apparel and fashion, we offer a SaaS solution there to e-commerce brands, retailers, 3PLs, manufacturers on how to streamline those returns process back. And we're the only end-to-end system out there at the moment that you can start a return and actually finish the return through our software.
And the returns process has changed quite a lot in the last few years, obviously, with trends changing. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I think the biggest trend is, when you look at the figures, returns in certain apparel and fashion, consumer electronics, if people buy in store, in the brick and mortar as we call it, returns coming in about 8%. Buying online on e-commerce sites, whether it be B2C or B2B, is up at the 30% mark. So when you actually think about that figure, that's nearly 1 in every 3 items bought online is actually being returned to the vendor. So it's a huge headache for e-commerce brands out there. And they obviously want their products to stick, but they have to now know that what the market wants, and people, I suppose, are now buying 2 jackets instead of 1, knowing that they will return one when they try it on. And e-commerce is only growing, so more and more people are buying online. So as more and more people buy online, the returns are going to increase as well. With supply chain demands, with shipping costs being through the roof at the moment, it's a real headache for retailers and e-commerce brands out there at the moment.
So what's ReverseLogix's USP?
So our main USP really is that we're an end-to-end solution for returns management systems. So a lot of people out there would know about ERP systems, for example. They used to be able to run a full business 20 years ago. But what happened with ERPs is you now need a CRM, like a Salesforce, etc. You need a WMS, which is a warehouse management system. And these are all add-ons. And returns management systems is a new thing on the market, with people realizing that they have to manage returns better. Our basic unique selling point is that we're able to offer our clients like a returns portal for their end consumers to use to be able to digitally return an item, which cuts out all the paperwork, allows e-commerce brands and retailers to know when returns are coming, why they're coming, and that's really important to start getting data on returns. Years ago, returns would just show up and they didn't know why items were coming back. Well, now they can actually see why items come back and stop the items coming back. And we also offer returns processing, which means what happens when it gets to the warehouse. How can we process this item as quickly as possible to either restock it? Do we refurbish it? Do we sell it to a second-hand marketplace, for example? So the disposition of items is becoming really important, because with the carbon footprint out there and sustainability, you now can't put stuff into landfill. And that's where apparel and fashion is a tricky one, because they're trying to come up with ways of how do we keep the items in the circular economy, and we cannot be sending things to landfill.
So tell us more about that. How are you changing your sustainability incentives and initiatives?
Yeah, so like most of the big companies we work with, they're focusing now on sustainability. So we work with DHL, we work with FedEx, we work with Salomon, Wilson Tennis, big brands out there. And all our key goal is how do we become more sustainable. So I think if you think of it with a 30% returns rate, typically what retailers used to do was send out returns paperwork with every purchase that was made. With 30% returns, that means 70% of that paperwork was going in the bin, okay? So we digitalized the returns process now. There's no more paperwork needs to be sent out, no more 2 forms to be able to fill out that's going to go in bin and waste. So that's the first part of it. The second part we're able to do is smart routing. And we talk to a lot of brands where they might say they might have 50 facilities in Europe alone. And they used to send all their returns back to one area, and they'd look after returns there and then send them out again to where they need to go to. So for example, if I'm in Barcelona and I was sending this jacket back, it might have to go to our warehouse in Germany. With our solution, it'll do smart routing. It'll actually pick up the nearest location for that jacket to go to. So it cuts out the journey time for that, cuts out way down on the carbon footprint for that. And that can be done at a SKU level. So it can be specialized that jackets need to go to our UK warehouse, shirts need to go back to our Ireland warehouse or the nearest warehouse. So there's many factors in that, cutting out the carbon footprint and sustainability.
But is that producing more of a headache in that when your jacket goes to the warehouse in Germany, to get it back into the circular economy, you've then got to find someone in that area that it goes back to.
Exactly, and that's why smart routing has workflows that we have built in, that the items will always go to the correct areas. So if you think of the headache they did have, it would go to one central location and then they'd be forwarding out to their shops and other locations. Our system will just cut that out. It doesn't need to go to one location now. A good example of one of our clients, ReverseLogix, used to have all their returns go for repairs to one area. Now they have 400 authorized service centers that they use. So it cuts out big home appliances traveling around the world for no reason at all, really. So they're really focused in on the sustainability factor.
So looking at the circular economy, is that kind of the next big thing, trying to work on that?
Absolutely. I think in the next 5 years, you'll see that most people will be buying their clothes secondhand online. You know, secondhand clothes shops are now booming, you know, because there's a big push for it now. And although retailers, e-commerce are becoming more aware of circular economy, so are consumers. Consumers more and more are looking at green packaging. You know, how do we cut down on the packaging? But they're also looking at how can I play my part in the environment. So secondhand fashion is becoming very popular. You'll see a lot of subscription fashion happening these days, with secondhand fashion, people getting new clothes like that. So I think it's the next boom, really, particularly in the apparel and fashion industries.
And what specifically are your strategy goals, short, mid and long term for 2022 and 23?
Yeah, look, we're growing at a rapid pace. We're dealing with high-end customers, high brands that are global customers. Our goal really is to enable them to have the software to be able to handle returns at a way more efficient level than they were. We talk to some companies and they don't have a system in place. Like lots of them literally have like an Excel file still, and they fill in what returns coming in, and they're missing an opportunity to restock, to get items back into the market quicker, and to make sure that disposition is correctly selected at all times. So we're cutting out that landfill, but really we're improving their processes on the returns. People always think about online of just selling online and stuff going out. They rarely think about stuff coming back, and it's definitely an issue that needs to be solved, and we're trying to solve it step by step.
Well, as more people are becoming more aware, customers as well, you know, that's where it's becoming more of a talking point and people are thinking about.
Absolutely. And you know, we're talking, I suppose, most about what our clients are doing, but the end consumer is getting a much better customer experience as well. If you're buying something online these days, there's a stat at the moment, 67% of consumers are actually checking the returns tab before they make a purchase. So returns now is becoming very important as an actual sale. And people might think, well, if I make my returns process difficult, then I won't get as many returns, but you won't get as many sales either. If a consumer out there now buys something, they expect to have an easy returns process, and if they don't, they're more like not going to buy from you again. So it's really important to give them that digital experience where they can go in, it's nice and easy, they can select their carrier and it goes off. Particularly in the high-end goods, you know, we work with a lot of watch companies out there. They might be selling €5,000 plus watches. If you're spending that amount of money, you expect a really good after-sale service also. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you could use one word to describe this expo, what would it be?
I'd probably say networking would be the one word to describe it best.
Excellent. And what are your thoughts about CCL TV being here at the event?
It's great. Yeah, it's great to be able to get to a larger audience that mightn't even be here today. There's so many great companies down there. I've visited a lot of the stands, and I know that, you know, there's lots of people who will hopefully watch this and get some insights into how ReverseLogix can help them and how other brands can help them as well.
Well, thank you so much for giving us your time. It's been really interesting to hear some of your thoughts. So thanks so much and enjoy the rest of the event.
Thanks a million.
Thank you.
Thank you.